and welcome back to another edition of Potluck, your everything and anything talk and entertainment TV show. My name is Laura Hartman, and I am your host. Today we're having our very first cooking show, and as promised, we are brought back legendary Vaishali Kushen to show us how to make Ayurvedic healing foods. So welcome back.
Thank you.
How are you, Vaishali?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm great. We're so glad to have you. So you've got a mix of array of seasonings and vegetables. What are you going to be making for us, and what do these foods do for us as far as healing?
Yes, I'm making it's like a meal with the parboiled rice. And I'm choosing parboiled rice because parboiled rice is cooked 1/3 of the way before it's shelled out. So it's layered with fiber.
So
the body can process it better.
Oh, okay. And where do you find parboiled rice? Because I mean, like when I'm in the grocery store, I don't think I look for parboiled.
It's at Costco.
Okay.
It's at any Hispanic or Spanish store, or it's at Indian store and Asian stores.
Okay, so international grocery stores.
You will always have parboiled rice.
Okay, and on the box it'll say parboil.
It will say parboiled.
Okay, I'm just curious because I have never noticed parboiled, but good to know. I didn't know that like some of it doesn't process as well. So.
Well, the white rice is hard to digest sometimes.
Okay.
But parboiled, because it's coated with fiber, your body can process it better.
Okay.
It has some roughage.
Okay.
That you don't see.
Okay, good to know.
And then I will be making a little salad with just lemon and black peppers.
Okay.
And then I'll be making cauliflower with red potatoes.
Great. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like you have a whole day, you come home and you want to have something quick, right?
Yes.
And we will make it in a way so you could finish it within 30 minutes.
Okay.
Flavor. Mm-hmm. And it looks like the potatoes are done.
Okay.
And the cauliflowers is perfect.
Great. And
this is when you add the little ground red pepper, just to give a little taste. It's about 1/4 tablespoon. And we add the cayenne pepper in the end because if we add it in the beginning, it will burn.
Okay.
So we add it in the end.
Okay.
After we know that cauliflower and the potatoes are done. And then I'm going to garnish this with the cilantro. And then just cover it and turn it off. And let it sit for, let's say, 3 minutes. And while that is sitting, we can fix our plate. So you can just put the salad. Side.
And it's okay to. Oh, the rice looks like it's ready.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now
I will put the rice on this side, and so
great
just to make it look good.
Yeah. Now unfortunately we've run out of time here, so but it looks amazing, absolutely amazing. Now for anybody who's just tuning in now, make sure you catch us on the web at www.potluck-online.org. You can reach Vaishali on Facebook or by email if you have any questions about Ayurvedic foods. She's happy to answer you. And here is her lovely Ayurvedic dish, which is full of lots of vitamin C and zinc and iron and protein, and will process through your stomach with no issues. And it's great for diabetics and other health conscious people. So thank you again for joining us, and thank you so much for coming on the show. It was really awesome to have you for our first cooking show.
Thank you for having me.
You can come back. So thank you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Got an unsolved murder that's cluttering up your life? Or have you been robbed of your family treasure and don't know where to turn? Do you need the services of a best private eye in Northern California? Well, friend, I have the solution. She's a movie star turned detective, and her name is Candy Matson.
I was scanning the headlines in the San Francisco Chronicle that morning. Truman signs Farm Bill, U.S. forces captures Seoul, Alger Hiss appeals conviction, when... Hello, Yukon 28209.
Is this Miss Matson?
Yes, I'm Candy Matson. What's your pleasure?
I need the services of a skilled detective on a very urgent matter.
I'm your gal. You tell me your problem and I'll tell you my fee, Mr.
Actually, it's Dr. Dabney Essex. I'm a dermatologist. The Japanese Sandman has been stolen from my wife's gallery.
Hold on, Doc. Not so fast. Let's review the bidding. What's the Japanese Sandman?
Miss Matson, it's a Nippon urn of enormous value that was stolen by thieves last night. I will pay handsomely for its speedy return.
I love the sound of that. A gal has to make a living, you know. Just where is your wife's gallery? And have you notified the police?
Yes, the law enforcement authorities have been notified. That's required by our insurance company. The gallery is called Asian Dreams, and it's at the corner of Stockton and O'Farrell Streets. Can you meet me there in half an hour?
Make that an hour. I've still got some unmentionables in the delicate cycle.
Very well, Miss Matson. Let's say 10:30.
Let's.
What made you suspect the good doctor?
Well, he and his wife were at odds from the beginning. He seemed so concerned over the theft, and she wasn't. When I found out he was romancing his nurse and piling up gambling debts, I figured he might want to kill two birds with one suicide. The Japanese Sandman was valuable, but not worth killing over, so I thought it might just be a cover-up for another crime, more lucrative.
So, Essex gets his wife to believe that they are going to fake her suicide, collect big bucks, and retire to a beach in Costa Rica. They disconnect the alarm, steal the Japanese Sandman, and then stage the suicide. Only it's not a rehearsal for her, it's the final curtain.
Right you are. But to fake her suicide with no body found in the car, they had to improvise. So they planted the purse and the shoe with her initials so they would be found when the caddy was examined. But when they got to the pier, he probably couldn't think of a way to retrieve them without raising her suspicions. I suppose he got her in the car on a pretext, maybe to get fresh fingerprints on the steering wheel. With the engine running, he could reach over, shift the gears, sending the Cadillac off the pier into China Bay. She couldn't swim a stroke, so she was a goner when she hit the water.
What tipped you to the significance of the extra person's shoe?
I hate to admit it, but it was your Tex A-Cuff movie. Remember when they decided that the old prospector must have been in the stagecoach when it went in the river, even though they couldn't find his body? Why? Because they found his pouch of gold nuggets in the stage. What better proof that Phyllis was in the car than finding her purse and initialed shoe?
Well, you guessed right on the hiding place of the Japanese Sandman. It was in Yvette's apartment. Doc couldn't take a chance on hiding it in his home or his office.
They were going to double their take on that urn. First, collect from the insurance company for its loss, and then sell it in France when news of the theft had evaporated.
Yeah, well, soon both the doctor and his nurse will be enjoying the hospitality of the California Prison Administration for a long time. Ah, Margot, the weed of crime bears bitter fruit.
You're right, Lamont. But right now, it's just me and my shadow.
Kitten, this is a wonderful evening.
Mallard dear, it's always a wonderful evening when I end up in the long arms of the law.
And you just watched The Japanese Sandman by Jack French, who probably looks familiar because he's been on our show before for the Washington Metropolitan, or the Metropolitan Washington Old Time Radio Club. So welcome back, Jack.
Glad to be here.
What we just watched was amazing, and you wrote this yourself.
I did.
So so what made you pick this topic, or I mean, like an urn, getting stolen?
Well, it's a combination of several things. First of all, Candy Matson was one of the best of the radio's lady detectives, and there weren't that many on the air, perhaps 24. And of course, there were at least 100 male detectives on the air.
Sure. She's the one that you talked about on our last show. I mean, when we had our interview before.
Yes.
That's correct. Okay.
Yes. And the show was a combination of a married couple, Monty Masters, who wrote the scripts and directed the shows, and Natalie Park, who starred in the lead of it.
Okay.
And it was on San Francisco, on NBC, but it was only on the West Coast. It was a regional show, so not too many people of your viewers have probably heard of it.
Hello, and welcome back to another edition of Potluck, your everything and anything talk and entertainment TV show. My name is Laura Hartman, and I am your host. Today we have an amazing guest joining us who is from the Evolve Academy of Mixed Martial Arts. And with me, I have Master Mike Moses, who is the founder and owner. So welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for that intro. I don't know about amazing, but
Yeah, well, from what I hear, you're very amazing.
thank you.
So tell us, before we get into talking about Evolve, tell us about your background in martial arts and how you got started and what your story is.
It's a little long, but we have, how many minutes did you say? So we start at the age of 5. My dad got me into martial arts because he was worried about me being bullied. Of course, I was a small individual growing up. But I started off in Taekwondo and learned martial arts at that early age, which was incredible because it was the only sport I really gravitated towards, and I stayed in it for many, many years. But went on from Taekwondo to learn Shotokan, then went into Kempo, joined the Marine Corps, and learned the arts that I do now while I was in the Marine Corps. So it's a really neat story in the sense that the arts I started with actually helped shape the character, and then I learned functional martial arts when I was in the military that actually helped me open Evolve Academy and spread what I like to say, the functional side of it,
Right.
to normal people that every day walk the earth. So.
Oh, okay. Now I understand you're in the Marines, and then you've done security for some very high top companies.
Yes, ma'am. So the neat thing about joining the Marine Corps is I got exposed to a lot of different things as far as hand-to-hand combat. And again, when I started off in Taekwondo, I had a real huge tournament background, which I became pretty good and well known around the tournament circuit in Germany.
Oh, wow.
But when I joined the Marine Corps, I actually learned what actually works for the soldiers and myself included, the smaller individual that needed functional stuff. The military actually does what we do because they need something that they can teach to
Everybody.
all the soldiers, big, tall, small, it doesn't matter. And they need to be able to do it in a fast way, so they don't have years to train you. So the functional part of it has to be taught in a short time frame.
Okay.
So.
And does your studio or your academy focus mostly on like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or, I mean, I know you do the other ones, but like the Gracie, a lot of people don't know what Gracie is, or at least I didn't, I had to look it up. So can you explain that?
Sure. I mean, we would take like the whole 30 minutes explain. No, I'm joking. But
Yeah.
basically when you come to Evolve Academy, you have a grappling side and a stand-up side. So
Okay.
the grappling side of it is mainly Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, the Gracie combatives, and that's all based on self-defense. And the stand-up side is the personal defense system, which is also based on self-defense. So our academy's very self-defense oriented versus sport. So we have a lot of sport stuff going on, but the majority of the focus is teaching people self-defense. We do a lot of mixed martial arts events, and that's secondary to our self-defense side because I love the mixed martial arts. I love UFC, I love Bellator, all those, and we have those guys training at my academy because it proves that it works.
Right.
For the longest time in martial arts, me included growing up in the 80s, we didn't know what really worked. It was all theory-based. And what the Gracie family did, they came from Brazil and they said, let's see what works. And they started the UFC as a proving ground that their martial arts was better than any other martial arts.
Oh, wow.
And that's the first UFC. You see a little guy named Hoist challenge everybody and beat them all with Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. It's the very first martial arts that I actually found that actually 100 pounds can be made up with technique. Whereas if you're 100 pounds bigger than me, as hard as I train my punches, as many boards as I can break, as strong as I get, at 150 pounds, the 250-pound person will still be able to punch harder than me.
Right.
Whereas that 100 pounds can be made up with Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, with technique.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, phenomenal martial arts, and it's the fastest growing martial arts in the world because of it, the self-defense aspect of that.
Are there other martial arts that are similar to like Gracie or Jiu-Jitsu?
Yes, there's you have judo,
Okay.
you have wrestling, you have catch wrestling. You have a lot of arts that focus on the leverage versus the strength and size, leverage and technique. But Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is the very first martial arts to actually pinpoint through actual combat, because in Brazil, they've been doing this for years.
Oh, wow.
Let's fight without gloves, no rules, see who wins.
Can you teach me what the manage the distances and the diffuse? Or
Sure. Yeah, can we stand up?
Sure, yeah.
So manage your distance would just mean anytime I'm close enough to touch you, you want to create the space. So if I walk forward, you would.
I would back up.
Yeah, so these are games we play.
Okay.
And then if I got too close, boom, how to move circular.
Okay.
But one of the things that everybody, when they see this one technique, they understand the leverage principle that we're talking about. And it's just a basic grab. Like if I grabbed you here and you feel that's pretty strong, right?
Yeah.
So check this out. So if you grabbed, so this is principle of the thumb. So squeeze really hard. Yeah, see, all I'm doing is just turning. And there's no real way to hold.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is one of the first things we start with.
Okay.
So
if I just turn, I can get out of that really easily. Okay.
So I'm actually really try to hold. Exactly. So you just turn and pull.
Just pull away.
Yeah, and then off that you can teach how to smack,
do
how
other
to get
stuff.
back.
Okay.
But the first thing is, understanding the distance and space and how to talk and be safe, you know.
Awesome.
But that's one of the things that you can show people, that it's just based on leverage and doesn't matter how hard you hold.
So there's like some science to this, if you
A
think
lot of
about
science,
it. Yeah.
A lot of science.
Yeah.
And the neat thing about the jiu-jitsu, it's attracts people that are very scientific or like learning like very high level, because it's like a chess game. The higher you get up there.
And probably good for developmental
for kids
100%. To like use probably the left brain in that respect.
Hi, I'm K. Patrick Glover. You're watching Potluck. Today we're going to talk about some of the issues affecting the transgender community here in America. I have two guests. I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Lucas. My pronouns are them, they, or she, and I am non-binary.
Hi, I'm Audrey. I use she, her pronouns, and I identify as trans feminine and just overall queer.
Okay. So let's start with some definitions for the folks at home who aren't real familiar with what we're talking about today. For instance, what is the difference between transgender, trans feminine, and non-binary?
Well, they're all really under the same umbrella. Transgender means anyone in the trans community or any type of trans person. Being non-binary is a way of being trans, and being trans feminine is also a way of being trans. You can be, for me at least, being trans feminine means I'm trans in that I identify as feminine, and that is not how I was born.
Okay. How about you?
Yeah, I'm non-binary. I also kind of go under gender fluid because I don't honestly feel that I am male or female. I feel more female than male, but I'm just who I am. I'm me. So.
And gender fluid means
that you're just whatever, you know, like you feel like you're a boy one day, or you can feel like you're a woman one day, or, you know, so sometimes I feel like that, sometimes I feel like I'm neither.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of me.
Audrey, you've taken a new name.
Yes.
Lucas, are you still using your birth name, or is that a...
I just go by Lucas, though.
Okay. Talk a little bit about the concept of dead naming and why it's such a problem.
Dead naming is, for those of you who don't know, it is when you call a trans person by their given birth name, which is typically associated with the gender they were assigned at birth. And the reason that's a problem is not only can that be an invalidation of someone's identity or experience. If you go by a different name and someone doesn't call you that, they're not acknowledging who you actually are as a person. And it can also be painful because oftentimes we can have very traumatic associations with those names, even if nothing directly traumatic happens to us, because those names are a symbol of who we were forced to be or pretend to be for so long, which is a very painful thing to do. Being referred to by a name kind of brings that trauma back and brings that negative experience back and brings the pain of not being who you should be back, even when you're in a better place. For me, at least, if I hear or see my dead name referred to me anywhere, I just shut down. I have a good friend now who actually has what my dead name was, and that's the only way I've been able to not shut down just seeing it in general.
Okay. Lucas, talk about pronouns a little bit. Why is it so important that we get the pronouns correct?
Pronouns are correct because, like I said about the feeling female or male, whatever, it is like when somebody calls me a guy or sir or anything, I don't feel like I am a guy or like any of that. So it really hurts my feelings, and it makes me feel really bad when somebody does that to me. So it's kind of like dead naming almost to me. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's very hurtful. Especially what I get a lot is I'll have to constantly remind people over and over and over and over again not to call them refer to me as a male, but they will still do it. So.
Now, I have seen at conventions and different events, people with name tags actually identifying pronouns on their name tags as a kind of a standard thing. Is there a way to let people in society, I mean, we can't all walk around with name tags all the time.
I just feel some people don't care. They're just ignorant and stuck in their own world, and which is fine. They can do what they want to do, you know.
I think a start could be, sure, you can't walk around with name tags all the time, but everywhere you do identify yourself, maybe put them in there. The college I go to now has faculty put their pronouns at the bottom of emails they send with their contact information. I've seen business cards with pronouns printed on them, obviously for specific people, not places.
They even have like work applications now that are doing a lot of that.
So it's getting better.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think what's important isn't to have them always be announced on a name tag all the time, because as you said, that's impractical, but just put them where you can, when you can.
Yes. And I heard that Maryland even did a non-binary. You can go and get a ID from them now in Maryland. That states it.
Yeah, you can get an X gender marker on your driver's license.
Yep, instead of male or female.
Interesting. What's your experience with your parents been? How have they dealt with this?
They're good overall. It just took them a while. I feel like, for me at least, the issue was that they kind of had grown to see me as a part of themselves, as an extension of themselves. Which, sure, being in a family, that's sometimes what it's like.
Yeah.
And when suddenly I revealed I was not the person they thought I was, there was some overall tension. They meant well, but they just didn't know much about the issues, so they ended up taking me to a very transphobic doctor for several years. And he basically did a lot of programming that we had to undo over the years. So we're good now, but it took a while to get there.
How old were you when you?
15.
15. We are going to put a little disclaimer at the bottom of this episode with a phone number. If you are in trouble, if it's getting you depressed, if you have feelings that are taking you to a dark place and need someone to talk to, there are people out there who will listen. Call that number, please. I'd much rather hear a good story about you than another statistic. Any last thoughts?
Keep living out of spite.
Yep. Keep on keeping on.
Thank you for watching.